Let me reel it in back in and go a little bit more to the what's the balance discussion again. Like we talked about the bans, what that would look like, how we incorporate coaches a little bit more, but we still have pretty glaring balance issues. Like I think the interesting thing is, like, Gator, you came out on Twitter pretty hard and said, like, basically if you're not playing Winston Sombra right now, you're throwing, right? Are these?
I mean, it's, you just had to you're like instantly starting at a loss. It just makes it a little bit harder. You can definitely win. It's just as Jake said earlier, you cannot beat the best teams, but
Right.
if you're a mid-table team, you still should be playing it against nearly everybody who's not maybe the 4 or 5 that are better than you, right?
Right.
But
and also, like, it's not like you're gonna play a cheese against Atlanta and then play, like, you're gonna still play the if you practice Tracer Sombra to beat most teams.
Yeah,
you know, you're gonna play it against the best team too, because that's what you play.
I honestly think like I'm kind of done pleading with Blizzard because I don't think anything's really gonna change. So I think that's just kind of just chalked. So I think we kind of just hope the league, you know, makes it fun and enjoyable. If I'm being honest, like I don't care if it's hero bans beginning of the week. I don't care if it's loser bans it. Something to swap it up and make it more fun. I think the coaches thing is an interesting idea. I've never thought about that. I don't know. Let my ass on stage. Let me be a hype man up there. I don't know. Like that'd be cool too. Like
a lot of teams try to find different solutions to Winston, and Winston is identified as like this meta juggernaut hero. I think Gator almost, and who we by the way lost during the little cut. Like there's a power outage. But Gator's...
Beat up on him. He's not here to respond. This is great.
He ran away in fear from the debate.
Here we go. But it felt like this team really tried hard to make D.Va work somehow, probably also because of Hawk. But at the end, they came down to Winston. They won every single regular season match, as well as MSM with the composition. Of course, they also tried to play D.Va. They played a bunch of D.Va, but in the end, like, they concluded it's all Winston all the way down. Do you agree? Do you think that's a problematic hero in this current meta?
So I don't think it's like as problematic as people think. But I mean, for the sake of diversity, if you want more diversity, I think we could have more diversity. But the good meta is the meta where like the second options and third options are also viable. So we kind of touched on it earlier about like the London last year or Chengdu, but so I think this year, like Ram for example, or some teams can be JunkBuck. Let's say so the best comp is Winston Tracer Sombra. That's for sure. Or okay, that is what it seems like. But then a good meta would be if you can beat those comps with other comps, then I think that will be a good meta. So I think a lot of the teams are actually able to beat those comps with like Ram or JunkBuck or whatever. So I think it can be, so in that sense, I think it's okay. I think the Winston is still the Winston Tracer Sombra is still the best comp, but yeah.
Does anyone have a different opinion? NineK, do you think it's like there's more diversity than we initially thought, and maybe that's also already shown a little bit in the first couple of weeks after the midseason?
I think I think map pool is kind of helpful for that, but why do I thinking like a Winston com is like gonna be effect anyway, no matter which meta? Because Winston com have like a multiple reason. One, the ping pong power is the most broken from the compared with the other tanker. Second is like his ulti is can be using like a multiple diversity, and third, he can block the healing without the zero risk. And fourth, the monkey com is much more diversity com can possible. Lucio monkey, Mercy monkey, or Anagen monkey, or like any hero. But if you play Lionheart, you need Lucio, right? Something like that. So diversity wise, I think monkey have so much like not have any problem with working any com, and even you can using that com for the charge your ulti faster enough, and using too much like a way to be counter a lot of tanker. Because which tanker is actually counter can counter like a monkey? I think someone can say like a Hog, or someone can say JunkBuck, but that is kind of true and kind of not true. And yeah, because of the mobility.
Queen is like the theoretical counter to monkey, but
yeah,
the consistency
it's not realistic. Yeah,
I think it's a counter to Monkey. Queen is
Yeah.
a counter to Monkey. I think it is a really good counter actually. But so I think what you just described, NineK, I think you described Tracer perfectly. You can play Tracer with
okay.
Ram. You can play Tracer with Queen. You can play Tracer with every single hero on every single comp.
I agree about that. So I'm
And
not
then-
saying the Tracer is the
Yeah.
problem, but how much like a tanker is not working because of the Monkey? How much
But
DPS
no,
is not working
I
about
think
the Tracer?
the Monkey, I think the reason why I don't think the Monkey is an issue is because every other hero you can still play your hero. Like you can still play any support you want. Just because there's a Monkey. Like if you like a Bab and Zen and those heroes destroys Monkey. You play like Lucio Moras live against the Winston really well. Like the Winston itself is not an issue, but so that's why. And then Winston, you say Winston farms ult fast, but then his ult is also like a very punishing ult. Like if the people still dies within a couple of seconds, and then you're giving him so much ult. So unless you can coordinate a dive with it, then you're just a hog with a flying hog, right? So
I think
I-
I'm not agree with you because 90% of the tanker ulti they kill themselves a lot. Like Sigma ulti or Lodo ulti used to be or like JunkBuck. I think I never see like even pro player when they're using JunkBuck they almost die every time because you have so much highly skilled.
yeah.
so
So I think Winston ult is punishable, like those other tank ults.
But that is space control is so broken from compared with the other tanker in the long term wise. Because if the Winston primer is just short like a second, it's fine. But he can do so much like a time and space control with the long time.
I
Because
mean,
other
like
tanker will be
I mean,
short time.
that's the role of all the tanks, right? Like Diva super oppressive too. Like if she's in your face and she's like on like not removable, like a Ramatra is like the best. So there's like a spectrum, right? It's like a frontline pressure spectrum.
Do you think there's a spectrum? It's an issue.
There's like a Sigma. There's a Sigma here at the immobile, just the front line, and then there's like other the Ryan and Ram and JunkBuck, and then there's the Diva, and then there's the Winston. He's at kind of like at the middle, the special, the generalist, and then there's like a Doom and the Ball. That's like the extreme. Does more damage on dive, but less frontline pressure. There's like a spectrum of tanks. So I think in that sense, I think there are those other heroes. But most of the tanks, like they're gonna take space. They're oppressive. They're gonna sit on your face if they're in a situation. So
Okay,
that's
so
the role.
This is then I want to ask it. The Winston bubble is one of the biggest problem for me because you can block the healing with a lot of no one can do that. And second thing is when after grand final I talked with the Russia about this one, but until he told me I didn't really realize it. Why Kiriko ulti never can charge other tanker shield like a Sigma or like a Leinart or this time like
That's
Mantra.
interesting.
Yeah,
That
Monkey is
Winston's the only hero with a cooldown shield.
Yeah, cooldown shield, right? And no such hero is to have a cooldown shield until the Lamastra came out, right?
Yeah.
So I think that is one of the biggest unfair parts because when you play Sigma and Leinart, you really need to be using your skill level high quality, right? But bubble, just press it and you can technically get so much like a space.
So that could be the issue with Winston fundamentally. I think it could be the same, like it could be true for like every generalist, like a Winston, Tracer, all those heroes, maybe they're fundamentally flawed in that sense. I think the shield is not a good mechanic for the game. So that's why earlier I mentioned the heroes like JunkBuck, Doom, and Orisa, like how they try to change those heroes. They don't have a shield. They're just they just have like extra HP, right? So that's how they protect themselves. So I think I think the shield is actually get rid of all the freaking shields, like the Ram shield, the Sigma shield, Ryan shield. Just get rid of all those, and then you just remake them.
Yeah,
I think the heroes
not a good mechanic for
No
the
shield,
heroes having shields tied to your position or like limited in some way based on your position is like more okay, like Ryan shield or whatever, because it's like that's when he's holding shield, that's like his whole that's the only thing he's doing is holding shield. He's using like he's not throwing, he's not swinging, or he's not pinning, he's holding his shield if he wants to have shield.
So those heroes
like Sigma,
with the shield. So that is the fundamental issue with those shields. Their heroes are trash if they don't have a shield.
Even
So
Winston, I think Winston would also
Winston
be
is
like
trash without a shield.
You can't. You have to be reworked, right? To like
Yeah,
not have a
so
shield because
I
he has
think,
he's basically like a melee character. You know, this
Yeah.
gun is like melee range, so
Yeah.
he has like this. He needs something to like let him play at melee range.
Yeah.
With Doom, it's the even Doom is like doesn't need to be melee range. You know, he has like mid range with his gun. Winston kind of with poke, but you know, the
So
bubble
at the end of the day, then just get rid of all the damage reduction stuff. Like get rid of matrix, get rid of shields, and then you're just a JunkBuck in Doom and Orisa. You're just tanking it with your HP, and then so extra HP at least you can farm off of it like 50%.
I mean, I personally like JunkBuck and Doom. One thing for me, the Winston, the biggest problem is he can block the healing by multiple direction, like a target from that, because you just settle your bubble and you can block the whole hero except I think Brig is it, right? So that is one of the reasons like a Brig is using right now. But if Winston can't block the healing, I think it's not that much OP as like people thinking. As at least pro player, and I think even your tanker player, when you play in the like a general the people, you're not feeling there's an issue. Because I'm not blocking the healing. So you're not feeling that, right? Because you're using your bubble for save your HP, not block the healing in the most of people, right? So I think it's not
for
gonna be
casual
issue.
players.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, for the pro players, they're definitely the good Winstons are definitely blocking healing.
But that's a good point. Like it's a good nerf to pro players that doesn't hurt casuals.
Yeah.
If you could like shoot BAP heals through, but what about Ana? There's stuff that's weird like Ana where you can just shoot the Winston through the bubble with your darts or.
No, just that is blocking, but you're still damaging the shield. Yeah. But,
okay, just do this. Make a Winston bubble like a Zarya self bubble, so you can't block for your team, but you have your shield for yourself, but then you don't get CC'd anymore. But then you can't protect your team, so that's the trade-off.
Like a.
So it's just more. Yeah, it's just more for yourself only.
You just pop your bubble and
I
you hold it in your hand while you jump around with your gun.
I think it's fine. If it's nerfed that way. Yeah, but personally, that is one of the reasons like Ana is broken, because I mean asking my player about this one, but I really don't understand. Every hit can have a damage reduction from the this by distance, but Ana doesn't have it. It's really weird, so weird for me. Like you have so much high damage and you don't have any damage reduction and healing reduction. At least you need to a healing or damage reduce from the far distance. That is so weird for me.
Yeah, let's get into Ana then, because Ana, I think she is the second most played hero by a huge margin, right? Like 60%, keep in mind 67 for Tracer. Brig is already below 50.
The most played support.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like already like a huge lack of that. It's just a meta juggernaut for the most part, right? What is problematic about Ana?
I think it's not the problematic. I think it's because how the Overwatch 2 is. It's a lot of mobile heroes, so you have to be able to consistently able to heal them. So those heroes will be like BAP is hard to heal people who moves around a lot. So it'll be Ana or Kiriko maybe, but Kiriko also takes time for their flying thing. So it'll be one of those two heroes or Break. But then it also has to do with so also it has to be a hero that can survive the dive against those mobile heroes. So that just ends up making it Ana Break, I think.
I think the most sticky heroes in the meta, in any meta, are the heroes that are good in the comp and good against the comp, like that, punish the comp and play well in it. And I think Ana is especially good right now because the meta is the Winston dive, right? But then the other thing people are playing is Ramatra Rush, for the most part, or various versions of the Ramatra comp. And I think Ana is the best support against Ramatra, maybe probably better than Zen, because Zen damage is all coming from the front and you block it all as Ramatra, and then you could run on top of Zen and kill it. But Ana, Sleep and Nade are both game-changing skills against Ramatra. Sleep because you can wait out his ult, or you can wait out his shift form, and you can stop his block. So you can he basically gets stunned, so you could just keep shooting him and do a bunch of damage to him, and nading him so he can't get healed through when he's ulting. You could try and kill him. So I think I don't know, Ana.
No, I don't think I don't think
But
you play
regardless of
Ana
Ana
because
being the problem or not, I think Ana is just like any hero that gets high play rate should get nerfed, in my opinion.
I
Even
think
Ana,
Ana.
like
No, I think if the dive gets like if dive doesn't get played, then so those, if it's not Winston, Tracer, Sombra, then I don't think the people are gonna be playing Ana actually. So if it becomes like a Ram meta, probably not. I don't see or like a
I
Rush
just
meta.
think
I don't think.
when it's dive meta, like regardless of like we say whether the problem is Ana or Tracer or Winston, right? But I think we should take these 5 heroes, Tracer, Sombra, Ana, Brig, and Winston, and nerf all 5 of them.
So that's the hero
like,
pool.
brutally.
So
not
most play
like
heroes gets banned for the next week. That's the hero pool.
but not ban, like you can't play them, but just like and not like nerfed like 50% slower ult charge, like game changing. You can't play this hero anymore. Just like small change. So rather than like instead of destroying Sombra because we don't like Sombra, we should just do small nerfs to all the dive heroes. And if dive is still one trick meta, then it's like wow, those nerfs were fine because it's still really good. Like you didn't need these power, right? So you can take some away. So I just think all of the top heroes, regardless of like you could never. It's like a circle. It's a circle in Overwatch, right? You can't say if Winston is the meta or Tracer's the meta or Ana's the meta. It's like meaningless, you know. It's like the fact that it's like these 3 heroes in tandem is the meta. Like when
So do you think the NIK should then? Since that was where we were at.
It's just that like it's like I think the idea of any one hero being the issue is like a flawed concept in Overwatch. Like no one hero is the issue. It's always the collective group of heroes. That's why like a lot of the balancing I think is like kind of flawed because I think a lot of it they look at like stats from heroes and they look at like how much healing is this hero doing and how many kills does it get or how much damage does it do, things like that. And I think if you try to balance all the heroes as like individuals, then I think that's just like really missing this key fact of Overwatch, which is like the synergies are the problem.
Yeah,
it's not just like
the problem, right?
Like, if it's like a meta where like Genji is super broken and everyone's playing Genji, then like you're almost always gonna play like an Ana, right? Like that's like Ana's gonna like nanoing Genji is gonna be so good, you know, that like it's like wow, like there's this great or like if Echo is really broken, then like the healers that heal Echo easily, so like Brig and Mercy and maybe Kiriko and Zen and Ana as well. Like the heroes that enable them are going to be good. And Winston being good, also that's like a huge benefit to Ana. Like, but all these heroes are connected to each other. So rather than asking, like the question, is this hero the problem? Is just not such a useful question. Is how I think of it. Because it's really like I think we should take all the heroes that are in the strongest comp, not try to like answer the question of which is the important one that we nerf, but rather we should do like a small nerf on all of them. Don't like nuke the Ana because Ana has the highest play rate, or take Tracer and just like nuke Tracer because she's the highest play rate hero. Like take the whole comp you play this hero in and do like a small nerf to all 5 heroes in the comp, and then see where the meta lands. Like that's basically how my hope for would be on like a balancing.
That would be the simple solution. Like okay, all of them because
we don't know. No one knows. Like I don't think you can even know which hero is the quote unquote problem. You know. It's just
what pick rate would you say? Like, do you have a pick rate in mind that's like, okay, this is a problem? Like, is there a threshold, or is it just like, okay, whatever is the most pick, let's just no matter what, let's.
Maybe if it's a meta where it's like no hero is above like 30%, where it's like, okay, like this is pretty like insanely rare. But I think like I don't know. I think it's like more based on field than like there being a specific number. But I think in general, if there's like it also depends how the hero's getting played, right? Like if Ana is 60% play rate, but it's like half Ram comp Ana and half Winston comp Ana, then I feel like more okay with like Ana being played, or we're not nerfing Ana rather. But it's when it's the one comp that is like all 5 heroes are locked in a lot. That's when I think we need to nerf the heroes. But if we play Tracer, and that's why the general heroes are broken actually. So maybe there is like 40% play rate is too much or 50% play rate is too much. You should just get nerfed.
So I have a question about that like a hero, like a percentage of the ping rate. So every time I like kind of like not sure. One thing is, if that percentages come from the starting the comp or end of the comp or every single time or by minute.
I think it's by second or whatever.
So if that bisecond is like a wrong statistic, if you just swap the hero at the very open the fight to counter your comp, and after that you swap the in the end like a monkey, I don't want to bring up is Boston and like Houston was that literally was that, right? They're finishing with the starting with the JunkBuck and finishing with the monkey comp. So it's not meaning like a JunkBuck is like a learning at the other map and other situation. So that is number is not really good number.
Well,
for
that
like
means they only played Junker Queen for like 50 seconds, and then they're on Winston the rest of the map. Then Junker Queen's going to be 5%, 10%, and the Wet Monkey's going to be 90%.
So this isn't like when people bring up the high like a diverse about the hero. I'm not was sure about that. It's true.
Like whether the play rate is the best statistic.
Yeah. The statistics can be like a you're not sure that's right and wrong.
One thing I want to point out about the nerfing all the high rate. So let's say you just nerf the simple to counter to your simple solution is to talk about it. What if like for example, let's say theoretically, I'm not saying it is like Break has like a super low win rate on ranked actually, but then now because she gets used a lot to actually nerf her, I think that's so that's not gonna happen too, right? So
that's the dilemma. That's why I think ultimately that's sort of like why I think in a nutshell we need something like hero bans, because I think in the end the high skill heroes are always going to be
hero
broken
pulls.
for pros.
I'll be okay with hero pulls. I'll be okay with hero pulls.
I don't like hero pulls. I actually don't want hero pulls. I only want bans.
I'd rather have hero pulls.
JunkBuck likes control. This guy wants to feel in control. That's what.
I mean,
Break.
He wants to feel in
Having a
control.
solo queue tournament. We're just having a solo queue.
No.
No, because
what
it's like I think it's like your skill. It's a change. It changes the game, right? The skill is not preparing the exact 5-hero comp and playing exactly how we practiced. The skill is
I feel like
partially it's like enemy will like punch you, and then you need to like you'll take that punch and then you still fight, right? But you also punch, and it's like how good is your punch against them? You throw your ban at them, and how much did you mess them up? They mess you up a little too. You're both fighting at like 80% of your strength. But if your strength is up here and your strength is down here, then us both being at 80, like the better player still wins, right?
I mean, as you say, the synergy is what's important on Overwatch, right? So that having that not having that hero actually changes the dynamic so much that it's not actually your 80% strength. I think it's a higher variance. It's so much variable that I think it's actually just like solo queue. Whoever just chooses the best hero in that solo queue game you're in.
So that is
I think with only one ban, it's like enough we could deal with.
Yeah.
It. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
Just one ban is enough. You could like adapt.
If it's one time, then you could just put in your one. If you have a one trick on the roster, you can put them in for any other map, right?
Yeah.
Like if they've been banned map 1, like okay, well we can.
It's not permanent ban from the whole time, right?
Yeah. So it's that's why my system is the one you can't ban again. So maybe Ana, I think probably Ana is like the highest impact dive ban, because like most heroes, like most comps that like you want to dive against, the punishing thing about dive is like throwing nades at them and nanoing people. Like I think that, in my opinion, Ana's like the strongest dive hero from that perspective of playing against not dive mirror, playing against other comps, like throwing nades and nanoing people and being uncontested in like this in like some crazy spot.
I mean, you can still play like Kiriko and things like that too.
But still, right? But yeah. But like you could, no matter what it is, that's super important. You only lose it one map. Maybe that one map, you're like, fuck, I really can't play dive. But like, if Winston is banned, right, you can still play Wrecking Ball, and like mostly you can still play how you want to play.
Yeah, so this guy bans like what was it? Winston. This guy bans like Ram. Then it becomes so random. Like
then it's like the team who wants to play dive plays Wrecking Ball, and the team who wants to play rush plays Rhine or Queen.
Yeah, and then one hero one hero changes the other hero to get changed, so it'll be like constant swap, and then it'll be actually solo queue.
Maybe they'll just counter swap each other, but I don't know. I think it'll be more up to the players, right? The players have to make a read, and
I think in combination with map picks, because then it's like, okay, well, we couldn't play Winston like we wanted to on this map, but let's choose a Winston friendly map because they can't ban it again, and then you play Winston and you try to form, I don't know. I think it introduces a new wrinkle, and I think it increases the coach's impact by a lot. Like, I think coach impact would be super important.
Well, I think it would go lower a lot more, right?
What? Maybe if you could talk too during the, if you
that's what I'm saying. If you could talk,
if you can talk,
yeah.
Like,
And
like
also-
not during the
also-
game, but
yeah.
in the Albert's suggestion of like freeze time, you're like, all right, guys, they banned Winston. We can't play Winston like we practiced. What do you guys think? Should we play a ball comp here or a Doom comp, or should we just play Rush? You know, and then people are like, oh, fuck it. Let's just play Rush. Or no, I got this. My ball's good here. Like, I
Rush
can
is
do this.
also so weird. Like it could be like a Rush with the Tracer or a May, or what hit skin is it? Is it a Soldier, or is it some variance? Or if the support is to play the Lucio with it, do you play the Kiriko with it? Do you play the?
These
It's
coaches
gotta
can
be like
figure this
that.
out. These
That's
coaches
the
can figure
pressure
it
is,
out.
like,
That's the
you have
job.
to you have to make the read. Also, I think it does put more emphasis on players of like, you can't just like know what to play because you like figured it out already. Like it'll be like, we thought this would be good playing ball. It's not working. Fuck it. I'm going May. Like let's go Rush. Let's take the Rush mirror. You know, it's like the players have to be more individually more dynamic, more willing to make a change and also call it for the team. Like
Yes,
one
I think-
player has to say, I want to do this, guys. Like, trust me, we can play this Rush here. Oh shit, we lost.
That's why.
9K.
Yeah.
So I think it'll make
I think
those
it
like
does
one
come down-
pick less
so-
defining.
So I think it's like less synergy then, less preparation, less knowing what each other is doing. It's just gonna be pure mechanics. So that's
Yeah.
why
Well, I don't think it's
it'll be
pure. I
solo
think it's like up to the players to read. Okay, if like May's out of the game, what does that mean about
it encourages
Legion Control
creativity.
Center?
It encourages
Like-
creativity and like adapting, and I think it's a different type of synergy. It's like, hey, we have a new problem to solve, and it's not something that is just like, hey, we've pre-solved this in scrims, like because I think right now it's almost like, okay, now it's like, it's just, can you execute instead of like, you don't have to think as much in this, and I don't know, I think it encourages more creative play.
I don't think there is gonna be any actual real plans on. Okay, we're gonna play this way. I think it'll be like very, very rough, very, very sketchy. I think it'll be most likely gonna be mechanics. I mean, it could be. I mean, we could, if you want a tournament like that where it's like mostly about just pure mechanics, then I think that is also fine. I'm just saying that then it just comes down to like that's why it becomes a solo queue tournament, because it is on the fly. Like you can kind of figure out, as you say, like like a freeze time, the coaches can say we can adapt better, but then those are actually, unless you script a lot, you're actually not really
Okay,
have
Jung,
a good plan to play a certain way.
I want to ask you something to you. If it's no map limit by the league, you never know about which map you're gonna play this week, right? So how can you prepare then? Are you prepare every single map? I think it's the same as that. It's not really different.
Yeah, so at least like we know what we're doing in all the maps, right? All the teams, like after from screaming, and we all know what we're like each other is doing in all the maps. So we
even
have that kind of
don't have
preparation.
like a like a map, like a direction, like you don't need to start with the coast. Any team like it can start at any map like randomly. Do you think it still matter?
So if you're talking about if you should choose a loser choose map, I think that's fine. I think that is fine.
So is
Or-
it
or you're
coast
talking
map
about
like
something else?
I mean like the starting map until like a finish map like because we know the direction how much like a coast map is important because it's starting map, right? Yeah, so if any map and or during the time like can choose any single map, or some team just put the payload like
So it's a new topic, right? Like
Yeah.
should we be
So-
able to choose same map type again?
Yeah. So my
Okay,
point
okay.
is this is like a map ban, because if you don't like the hero ban because of the solo queue, but if we can choose by map to change like not be like a solo queue, do you fine with that?
So get like
So you can choose any map when you loser or starting
okay, okay.
anything, yeah.
So I think that'll make it like we might we might only end up playing just like one type of, like very limited, like 70% of all the teams just play this map type. Then I think it could get stale. So maybe we have to force some kind of map. What was it? The variation.
All right. What do you guys? Right, JunkBuck. We'll start with you in terms of like a conclusion. What we, sort of the essence of what we talked about, what we arrived. I think if I got your point pegged out, I think you have an opinion about Winston that it's maybe not hard meta. You think that Trace has more of a problem than the other guys do. You are skeptical about hero pools because you think it would turn it more into into ranked play than everything else. But you generally tend to agree that we ought to balance for a more fun product, right? What kind of solutions would you see that gets us there?
Solutions, I guess, the constant short term would be the constantly changing heroes. Try to make all the heroes. I think the devs is trying to go with this direction. They're trying to make all the heroes have like a similar win rate and things like that against every other hero too. Maybe that is trying to make everything a generalist too. But maybe we can get in the end we can do patches more aggressively to make it work. The reason. Yeah, and so those will be nerf the tracer. Don't make her pulse without counter. But yeah, that's joking aside. Just make it switch things up more in that the meta, the hero balance sense, and then I guess the long term is. I guess we could keep trying to make the league format also more. We could try different things to make it maybe that can spice things up more too.
Jake, I think like you made a really strong point for the hero bans and how balance should be rotated as to be most interesting to folks watching. What do you think? Like, what is the practical solution to get this over the finish line? Because like working with the balance team is really hard. So we got to find solutions in order to practically get this on the road, right? What can the league or the pro teams do in order to facilitate this?
Like, I definitely agree with what Junk said about like having these like more patches that like make more diversity and like keep things changing and new metas coming is like that's really ideal and optimal. I just think that like we've never gotten that, and I don't think we will because I just don't think the dev team cares that much if like the pro meta is stale and it's like one trick meta in the pro league. Like I don't think that's a big problem for them because I just don't think that's really a priority. Like they're balancing for the average player, which is like reasonable. You know, they're managing like a game that's like supports a bunch of people's jobs. They want to make sure the game is still popular. People like playing it. That's like more important to them than the esport. So I think the solution has to come from like within the esport. Like we have to solve our own problem. And so that's why something like hero bans I think is like something I want to see because I just think it's more like it's like hopeful, it's like wishful thinking to get faster patches and more impactful patches that change metas. It's like, yeah, please do this, but then we have no power over whether that happens or not. But things about like the Overwatch League format and like adding something like hero bans or like I think Albert's suggestion was really cool, like more coach talking time or map pick all the time instead of just in like playoff tournaments and things. I like all those suggestions because I think they're all things that the league has control over. That like the esport can control without requiring the game devs to like agree to it and like enable it and make it happen. Like the infrastructure to ban heroes exists already. All you have to do is like turn the heroes off. Honestly, that's partly why I wanted to do the global bans is because you don't need any new thing for that. You can just turn off heroes in the lobby. Like that's how the game, like you don't have to, Team 4 doesn't have to make anything, you know? And then, so I just think it's like for the esport, I think it'd be good for the esport if there was more, even in every meta, there's like more different heroes getting played. If it's like, you know, and I think adding hero bans, as much as it creates more chaos and is not like, it's less of like a perfect skill thing. It's a little more chaotic. I think that still is like it's still a high skill competition. Like I think one thing interesting as a comparison, take a game like chess, which is like probably like ultimate skill expression, you know, like a great player is like never ever losing to a bad player or like a medium player, you know, like the best players are just, you know, it's very, very high skill game, right? It's like all skill pretty much. The very, very best chess players, like the elite players who are like, you know, the top few in the world where everyone is studying them and everyone's trying to catch them. They play suboptimal moves in the early game. Not like terrible moves, but they play like suboptimal moves at times in the early games because it makes a chess position that no one has played before after like a few moves. No one has studied this position. It's like a new position that's like from the perspective of somebody trying to beat Magnus Carlsen. If Magnus makes like 2 or 3 weird moves and the game is now, you might have like a technical advantage from like a computer analysis perspective, but in that moment of like you're not sure what to do, he beats you, he destroys you because he's like he knows he's better than you, and all he has to do is put you in a spot where you're not comfortable, and who's a better player comes out, and like then he'll beat you. And if he were to just play like a fully standard game every time, people would like perfectly study his game. They know exactly what he'll do. They have everything strategized, plan ahead. You know you can fight him. But when he makes things more chaotic, it actually gives a bigger advantage. So I think there's something to be said for like a little bit of chaos, just a little bit, not like a crazy amount. I think there's like you have to
It's not
do it in a
little
way
bit,
that's. I think it's a little. I think it's like the smallest you could do. Like I agree, it would be better if there were like 40 more heroes, so it was like even smaller. But I think like it's
you
kind of
chose
the smallest you
chess,
can do.
the one with the highest competitive integrity, where there is no
Yeah.
variable.
Yeah.
The person worse than you is not gonna be beating you, the person that's better.
But
You
the best players, my point is like the best players do things to make the game slightly less standard. They don't want to play standard games because the
Yeah.
very best players playing standard games, they lose some of their edge playing the
They have
standard game.
they have a lot of preparation. They can't do something that's out of like that's never been seen before. You know.
But no, that is actually the point.
do.
Like the best players actually do that. They
No,
do
but then-
things that are on that are like quote unquote not optimal because
Yeah.
It's
Alright.
not
it puts the-
optimal, but if they've seen every move, you know.
No, because
the
this thing,
opening
chess, no one's
move.
seen every move because there's like more chess moves than there are atoms in the universe. There's like too many chess, like too many different ways a chess game.
It's
can
not
go.
opening moves, but just.
But even as the game
gameplay in
progresses,
middle.
they do things that are intentionally like in the early game and mid game that intentionally make things like different or strange in order to take their opponent off balance, and then they have like a more confidence.
Yeah.
Even if it's a environment they haven't studied, they'll like have a bigger advantage there. And so I just think that's an interesting example to kind of like pique people's curiosity of like what would a player do when they're in that chaotic scenario, and like what will we see from players put in these scenarios to try new things. Like I think it's more interesting to watch people like playing at comps that like we don't usually see, and like or like trying out heroes that we don't usually play. I think that will makes the esport like much more interesting and exciting. And I still think in the end, the highest skill players will still win more. But it does reduce some of the team synergy skill. I think that's very true. The team execution perfection that is Overwatch, I think we lose some of that. But I want to see more heroes, and I think we have to make some sacrifices to do it.
JunkBuck, I have to cut you off here because we got to be mindful of your time. But I bring it to NineK. And for you, I'm bestowing you with the power of being on the speaker system in T4's office, and you get to suggest balance changes that are fair, that are applicable, and that could help Overwatch esports at this point.
So I think I bring up very earlier this point. I think the buy your hero, not each hero, I mean low maybe, moving the payload speed or percentage of the coast map should be changed. That is making the game more like easy to understand the people, because you're play tanker, but why Tracer just touch the point or just enemy like just Lucio keep holding there is I think is not make sense for me. So it's making more he can be like a concern about using certain comp to be like make the pressure or the objective wise, because it is making like a game more but my point to try to say is I think this is a kind of unfair looks like for me. Or if you want to be unfair, you need to get more better advantage from that. So that is the reason I think Leinart is especially this iconic hero. If you push the payload, you can get the charge your shield faster or whatever thing like something like that. It's making more unique of your hero to why you choose to this hero to play it. That is I want to be. Yeah, because we don't have a lot of hero, right? To be honest, so that is like a giving like a very unique passive, and you when you lead it, oh, this is the reason I want to using this hero, not just for the killing the game. I want to be using this hero for the object to lead.
Okay.
I think that's a super interesting idea, like passives that interact with the objective, and I think that's like heroes like Ryan like should definitely get buffed, and why not buff it in a way that's like unique, interesting, adds a new dimension to the game. Way better than saying here's more shield HP on Reinhardt, like I think.
Yeah. And second thing for the nerfs is one, the Sombra and Tracer. I don't like the Sombra can hack the pack. So because it's a control the object one of it. The most important object she can control is I think this is the overpower. and Sombra EMP can most of the OT and skill can block it or break it. I think there's overpower at the same time. And Tracer for me, one thing I can't understand Tracer is when you're low HP and when you get the healing pack and when you recoil, you get the skill with the high HP from that when you aid it. Because your recoil is meaning like you just go back to the time, right? But why you get the 8 the like a HP pack and you get the recoil and you still the same high HP? Why you not go back to low HP? I don't understand because that is the one thing I really can't
Yeah, like
understand.
recall can only give you health. It can't take health away.
Yeah.
But
There's
why?
a yeah. There's a so for me can't understand the point because I think it's not something like blame the Blizzard, but it's so much simple thing. You if you're concerned about that, something not making sense for me. Like a EMP can block like a this story about the Blizzard. It not happened before whole year, and just suddenly it just came out and so ridiculous for me. And so certain thing like you can just slightly change it, making this reasonable for me. That but I think Dab is always almost change the hero only by damage. I think that was the reason when Jen get the kick, everyone fun about that, but everyone laughing about that. Oh, this is so. But I think the realistically it's fun, yeah. And when the diva get the like a remake, like that time like a diva landing is get damage. This is also fun, right? I mean that kind of like a unique passive is making game more interesting, right? But I think it's not something overpowered because you can just really easy to change it or slightly give it like just making the game more interesting. And Mercy can like the Valkyrie before the using why she like a lanes of the healing is too short. It can be like so much like easy thing you can change it from by your identical like a hero. Sigma you can grab the you can change like a what is it like a he control the gravity by like a hero design. So why you can't go fly like jumping? Why monkey can jump it? Why but your gravity person like it never can go to the space because you know there's overpower. So but you can give it a lot of things. You can give it a lot of things to be honest. But I want to be making the game more fundamentally
Like
fun.
give Sigma the Mercy passive where you can like hold spacebar and like fall slow. You know, so
Yeah.
you can like go long. You could jump some gaps. You know, with Sigma from like some high ground to high ground. Like I think that's a really good idea. Like any interesting changes. Like I think any buffs can be like fun buffs most of the time. And then when you nerf a hero, you can just take some damage away. Like nerfing, just take some, make the cooldown 2 seconds longer, the old 5% slower, whatever.
Yeah.
But
so
why
like
not do funny buffs?
one hero when you guys the talk about the Lifeweaver, I was thinking that this way, if the Lifeweaver is like a iconic like his skill is like someone grab it, why people not can be go to him permanently when they want it. So that is the reason why you choose Lifeweaver because you're not good at the mechanic Lifeweaver, but someone your teammate just oh I need to run away. Oh I have a Lifeweaver, I just click him, like I just go there, right? So you're making the reason why you choose it by making people like can be have a fun, right? I think that is like a reason making the hero more fun, not just damage, not just healing, not just like using like a just shift Q E R. I mean the skill is so short, like you can press like a both button like in one hand. It's so much easy to do that, but you can give it so much like a unique system for the hero.
Like a reverse Kiriko, like they instead of Kiriko TP to people, everyone can TP to you.
Yeah, like that. But if you're a global cooldown, so why you take me like something like that, or you can just permanent to any time like that. It's making more game like interesting. So there's my point because I think this is maybe in system wise it's hard, but at least you have a fun why you choose that hero, right? So that is the reason like when a Sojourn came out or whatever, I personally like it, that hero. If we can't give him like a passive, because Junker can passive is so much people like it for me because you can no such a tanker can heal themselves, right? Like when you do damage. So that is the reason I like Junker Ken because not because the Junker Ken is good or bad, but the system is really interesting for me. So I just want to be a hero. Yeah, unique. That is the reason why you choose. I think Tracer, that is the reason I think is kind of fun. And why is a monkey and Leinart back to the like your old like a hero was fun. But Bot is kind of boring for me. But in the same time, he's and I don't like the ulti. Can someone help the people? I think that is boring for me. I want to using my window for me only myself. Why using give it to the other? Why? That is for me like I don't understand. Because Nano, why you can't Nano yourself? Why you can't do that? I mean, so much thing. I can make it. Why Ana is everyone like it because his ulti is so unique. She ulti is so unique and something like that. So I want to be like a hero get more identity, like a skill or passive.
Albert, for you, as like sort of like a last question topic, and maybe others want to briefly jump in on that as well, but you've suggested, like for instance, the coaching thing, that they get more talk time. You talked about like maybe it's not the worst thing if like certain heroes have a high play time, but you've also participated, like positively talked about the hero ban idea. How much is the game balance and how these systems work holding back Overwatch esports, and how important is it that we get something going in order to keep this alive?
I think there's like two ways to think about it. Like there's the dev angle, like, hey, what do you need? What do you need like dev input on to realize in the game? And like, so that's like balance. Like you need devs to balance. Like we can't balance the game on our own, right? Like we can't have our own owl patch. We can't do that. So that's
Overwatch League Pro mod.
right. Like that's something we need to acquire devs for. And then there's the other category, which is like, okay, here's what we can do with our existing resources with the league. Like if we as a league, like, hey, let's have this unique format. Let's have here like hero bands, one example, or like the coach talk time. And I think there's two different ways. And then within the balance, I think there's like there's like you think about skill floor and skill ceiling, right? And I think the issue at our level like of play is the super high skill ceiling where like for example like Sojourn, you can one shot, like there's like no drop off, right, essentially. And that was the problem because like if you're a pro, you can hit that like 1 pixel headshot like consistent. Like people were just literally standing there in the middle of like a wide open area, stands like still on Sojourn, just waiting for someone to like pixel peek. Your average player is never gonna, like they're not hitting that shot. They're not even thinking about doing that, So it's like thinking about though, like if there's a way to identify and reliably like, okay, that's how we tweak it. Like if this is the discrepancy, if we're seeing like let's say a massive delta between like the average player base and like what the pro pick rate, like let's take a look, let's try to identify like what's enabling this at like the high ceiling, or maybe it is just like globally like, but I think there's a big difference between casual pick rate and pro pick rate. Then it's not like they're just not using it, right? And I think you can take away, there's probably some crucial thing that you can tweak or like slowly tweak over time to lower the pick rate at the pro level. But that's harder to do because that's like devs, like I don't know, that's like a whole discussion, like how are devs balancing? They're juggling so many things. Like obviously the player base, the casual player base need to fulfill those duties first, like making the game fun for them. So like I get that we're secondary, but to Jake's point, like that we need to look at like our league system, like how can we make it more competitive? And I think the way is like map picks, right? Like if everyone can pick maps, if you're losing, you don't just get stomped 3-0 like in a bad meta, because like hopefully like within the map pool, there's certain maps that you can be like, okay, this isn't like an insta loss for us. Whereas like if they just assign you maps and like for example like last year you played London, they get 3 rush wraps, like okay, like cool. Like this year, like you get 3 dive maps against it's like Somber Tracer dive maps against Atlanta. You're like, okay, well our chances of winning like are, it's all out the gate. It's like it's kind of chalked. So I think map picks are important. I think increasing like the ability of coaches to talk to players would increase like the parity or like the experimentation or the ability to experiment. I mean, obviously not all teams will experiment. Not all coaches are like, hey, let's just switch it up. But some coaches will. And I think that's, anything to increase that diversity within our game is important, because I think so far, like it's year 6 and like every year it's always like, hey, we're not satisfied with the meta. The meta is always stagnant for some period of time. And the only way for us to reliably affect that change is like there are levers we can pull. And I think, I think it is maybe time to look at hero bands. Like maybe you try it out contenders, maybe you try it out preseason, right? See how it feels. I mean, I guess it'd be kind of silly to start a preseason and just be like, okay, we like this, so we're going to change the whole regular season. So maybe not the preseason angle, but some sort of experimentation, I think, should be done around hero bands.
Would you be open as like one of your mayhem tournaments to try something like this?
Yeah, I mean, I think weren't there a bunch of like random third-party tournaments that tried. I know, like when Jane was still in the scene, like we did this stuff before, but I mean, it just didn't. I think it was looked at as more of a gimmick than
right.
like, hey, like this is a serious.
But it was also a
tournament.
little bit more heavy-handed. I recall. The
Yeah,
bans.
yeah. It was
They might
like
have gone really ham with the bans. Like
I think it was
something
like
that.
one per role or something.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I don't know. It was like a
which,
lot.
like,
It was a lot.
and I think a lot of times people don't have like a mitigation to the ban. So if you want to just eliminate heroes from the game, you can, like all series long and things like that, which I think is like bad from a esport perspective. Like it'd be really bad if we just, and Blizzard will never approve a system that lets a team be like, you know what, that new hero, we don't want to play that hero.
Yes.
It's banned
But
the whole series.
I
Like
think
that will
they-
just never get approved. So
I think the easiest thing from a balance perspective, just like make new stuff OP. Like make things fun, make it because like that shrouds like what's actually broken. Because it's like, oh, you think you have so many things you can explore. Like, oh, like this Lifeweaver like has a gimmick ability that's like you could use that. You know, that could be better in some niche circumstances, or some team figures out how to unlock Lifeweaver on this point or whatever, and then slowly like, oh, is Lifeweaver good or not? And then it just have more options. I think right now it's just when you have patches that don't really change all that much, you're just tweaking numbers here and there. Like it's hard to. It's not new, you know.
I think
It's not-
this
it's not new
season
enough.
would have felt a lot better if Lifeweaver had like affected the game in any
Yeah.
way. Like I don't know. In my opinion, though, Lifeweaver, it worries me as a hero because it says to me that the devs have no understanding of the game. Like it is like it is one of those heroes you could just like look at the hero on launch and you know it's dog shit. Like I remember we were playing the Lifeweaver tournament. We're like, holy shit, this hero is terrible. Like it was
You
like
can't even-
unplayable.
I think it's one of the only. I think it is the only hero in the game. I don't think you can climb a gem with it. I don't think you can climb a top 500 on
Yeah.
Lifeweaver.
There's
only.
people,
It's like not
people were
possible.
doing like the Lifeweaver only
And giving up.
like
Yeah.
new account to top
Yeah.
500 and they're giving out like
It's not
like,
possible.
I think
It's
like
literally
the Fran
not
gave up
possible.
and like
Yeah.
I mean it's just like such a low impact hero. If you unless the other team also has a Lifeweaver, you're losing. I mean this hero just does you're just worse than every other support.
Well, I will say right now, Lifeweaver, by far highest win rate percentage in the league. Also because of the mayhem, 93% of all minutes.
But like I think Lifeweaver, the sad thing about Lifeweaver though is I think that hero needs to be reworked from day one. Like most heroes got launched, they didn't need a rework. Maybe they needed nerfs, or buffs, whatever. But I think Lifeweaver needs a rework because until that hero just heals for 200 with every single heal shot, I don't think you're playing that shit. It's like the skills are useless. I think that's like a huge fucking problem. It's Overwatch. The skills are like a really important part of the game. Every support has really good skills. Like
I think Dev just messed up the bare minimum that we need to shake up the meta, which is like the new hero needs to be OP. The new hero needs to be part of the new meta because they're so busted, and then it's like, okay, you're guaranteed a meta change. But we weren't guaranteed any meta change because Lifeweaver was not busted. Nobody played Lifeweaver, and then the new hero doesn't come out until playoffs. So we're just stuck in this. We just have a long time with no hero, and nothing's gonna really change unless they drastically rework one of the existing heroes. And they did do that with the patch. But I think the easiest way to guarantee meta shifts is like, okay, you release 2 heroes every year or 3 heroes, whatever you want, and each of them are broken. You do that, like you're gonna change. Like I think that's guaranteed meta change.
yeah, I think also they can just these balance patches should be like a little bit more heavy-handed maybe, like or just more changes because some of the changes feel like really minor. I mean I think the Tracer one is like it's interesting because that Tracer change when I saw it initially I was like, oh maybe that'll be an effective nerf for Tracer, like maybe that'll open it up, but in the end it's just after like a week of playing you like forget about it. It's like the same.
Like they added like what 2 points of damage or 1 point of damage to Soldier. Like change it back to where there's no recoil on Soldier, you get perfect tracking. Just what happens then? Like that maybe that's useful, right? Like
I think Soldier might as well have no recoil right now. For like pro players, it's not the recoil is not meaningful because it's like a perfect vertical recoil, so it's like not
no recoil
spread.
and buff the damage more because I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, at 20 he was I actually think this Soldier buff, the one that's live, is like really interesting because the rocket instead of buffing to 20 left click, they buff the rocket more. So like your left click rocket kill combo is probably better than it was on the 20 damage patch. But like the raw, just like left clicking down a tank isn't quite as broken as it was on 20 damage. I'm playing Soldier in ranks. It feels like insanely good. I don't know if it's like, I think it's good enough to where if you don't want to play Tracer Sombra, I think Soldier might be like the hero you'll play. But maybe Maybe not. Maybe you're. I mean, realize now I think about it, you're just getting fucking one hit by a hack or an EMP, and like you just get blown up on soldier. You're just dead before you see the enemy tracer like look at you for 1 second, and you like
Yeah.
drop a heal, and then you get EMP'd and free blink, and then Winston drops on you.
So can I ask something to Jake and probably other coach? So one thing I really don't understand why we delay the pets at the Overwatch League, because there's not DAP doing it, right? We just like the league doing it because the people doesn't like it to just during the match time where it just swap it, right? But personally, I don't mind it because
Well,
it's
I
making
think
the,
what was weird is we had this new patch, this new live patch.
just
It
few
dropped
days ago,
before
right?
the matches, right? It dropped
Yeah,
before the
yeah,
matches.
Yeah.
But maybe people want like at least 1 week to scrim the patch or something like that before
Yeah,
it goes to
probably.
Overwatch League. I don't know.
Could we
I
just?
think it's something like that, like needing delay for scrim time, and then if the new patch dropped like 1 day before the match, do we play that patch? And then sometimes the patches have game-breaking bugs occasionally.
Yeah.
We don't know all the time, so there's like some reason to
Yeah.
delay, I think. But there's also reason to be like, okay, this new live patch, there's no game-breaking bugs. Next week, the match we're gonna be on this patch. Like,
I mean, they kind of broke competitive integrity anyways. With they're gonna release the new game mode. With for us, we have 2 matches left, and it's like, hey, new game mode just dropped, new patch just dropped like mid stage. So I don't, like, I don't know. I would be. I mean, at the end of the day, I think everyone would be operating under the same like handicap or nerf or whatever buff or whatever you want to call it. So I'm also indifferent. Like if they want it to be live, I think it wouldn't. When you think of stages, then it's like it's more complicated. It's like, okay, it's like instead of like, okay, this stage was all in the same patch, it's like, okay, there was a patch in the middle, there was like a hot fix, like, it gets kind of, when you're thinking about like results and like how teams stack up, I think it makes it more complex. But
Yeah, because I think one of the reason every first season, when the match starting, the very earliest diverse because each team doesn't know what is good or bad, right? So,
Yeah.
but in the end, when it's going to the final, each come like a be same because they know that is good. They prove it during the like a practice time or a stream or whatever, or they follow the strong team. So that is one of the reasons like I don't like the like just patch not change it or map we already decided or something like that. So we need to like small change can be not make a team just choose the same map or same comp. I think so, unless there is a broken hero. So I personally I like the broken hero, but I don't like it that hero stuck on the whole team using the same comp like a JunkBuck or like a Kiriko, because Kiriko and JunkBuck is overpowered and everyone's using the same comp, right? So personally I don't like that way. So I just want to wait to make him more not overpowered, but people can consider using that hero in certain map or certain like a try, and they when they losing, oh, this is not good because we try different thing a lot because we want to try to like a winning by that, but we just fail it because maybe like a fan can say to us like oh like a Shock doing like so much weird thing, not why not follow the just like a standard com or something like that. I can take the blame because of me and Kersey, but I think the one of the reasons is we know we're going to have a hard time when we play something like some way. So personally, I want to be like a change more diversity by different way.
All right, folks. The clock just hit 3 hours recording. We are. I thank you a ton for talking through this. I think we've got some great ideas that could be implemented on a league level or at least discussed in the community. Some ideas for the developers. We don't know if those will ever reach them. We hope so. And overall, we'll see how this develops. We'll see how the new map mode functions and how the new hero functions. And hopefully that one is strong enough in order to force a new meta. But otherwise, I thank you a ton and wish you the best of luck in the preparation for your next matches. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.